All right, we're back, and I hope this is satisfactory because I'm not sure what else to do. Um, yeah, I rebooted, and hopefully, it's not a dial-up connection, right? It feels like, or it sounded like I was on an Earthlink connection from the early 2000s. Is it better? Good. All right. Excellent. Second time. Sometimes you just got to say fuck it and reboot, right? It's kind of like life. Just fuck it and reboot. How is everybody? Thanks for being here. I know you could be doing a lot of other things with your Sunday night, like maybe watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. You remember that? I was watching it before the show tonight. I was getting ready. I was putting my notes together. Sometimes I like to have something on in the background that I can kind of look at, listen to, and not focus on too much. So reruns of the Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom with Jim Fowler and Marlon Perkins are always in the pocket, just having on as background noise. And they were in the Everglades, and they got this big fucking snapping turtle, right? Like, of course, Jim is always the one that is having to do battle with nature. And he's in the swamp, right? He's got this big fucking snapping turtle. And what are they going to do with that snapping turtle? They're going to take it to a zoo in St. Louis. It's like, why? Why? Why didn't you just leave the snapping turtle there? Is his life, like, really? Are people's lives going to be that much more improved or enlightened by having a glimpse at a snapping turtle in a St. Louis zoo? I don't know, but it was mildly entertaining, and that was a Sunday night special. Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Anyway, we don't have that anymore, do we? If we had something like that, there'd be lawsuits. Jim and Marlon would be canceled. It might come out that Jim and Marlon were homos, right? Like, it could just go so far south. It was a hermetically sealed sort of testament of its time. Anyway, thanks for being here. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying. Happy new moon in Leo. The new moon is on my birthday. All right. Well, happy birthday to you. I think that, hey, there's my, okay, we got to bring Al into the conversation here. Here we go. Let's go Serious Sportscast tomorrow. That's my dude, Al Dog. We're going to be doing Serious Sports on YouTube. It is going to be probably the only YouTube channel dedicated to astrology, sports, magic with a K, synchronicity, high strange, cycles of time, a little bit of conspiracy every now and then. Monday nights, 8 p.m. Check it out. It's going to be a really good show. And we have great graphics and great content. And so if you like astrology, if you like sports, if you like them together, and you like other stuff that kind of goes along, you guys know what I do. And Al is a hardworking man. He is a construction worker, contract dude by day, and on the weekends he's an author. He's written a couple books. I know he's written one book on hip hop. If you've been over on the Old World Florida channel, I'm sure you've seen Al a couple of times. In fact, I did a show with Al and Longo on sports. astrology and football. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it, and that's tomorrow night here on YouTube. And be there. We'll have a good time. We'll also do some things that I haven't done with this channel. Maybe I should do some more with this channel. You know what? I think I should do some more with this channel. We're going to do giveaways over on Serious Sports, and we also have a product line thanks to Bree Eves. She's been really putting together some really cool stuff, and we got caps and shirts and cups and some cool logos. So yeah, but we're gonna do some giveaways. I should do some giveaways here. I got to figure out how to do a giveaway here. Let me think about it. Let me think about how to do a giveaway here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do next week, because we're in Leo season and it's good to be generous during Leo season. Next week, I will give away a reading, and I will give away an astrological birth report. That one's easy, and we'll do a giveaway next week. I have to figure out how to do it. We'll do a giveaway, and we'll have some other giveaways over on Serious Sports. So thanks for being here. I appreciate everybody hanging out tonight, and again, spending your Sunday with us. All my friends are here. I can just go right to the top. Thomas Jordan, what's going on, Tom? DJ MC Pen Greedy. Yep, you're here. Amy Gill is here. Bill Smith is here. Listen Well 99 is here. Deborah Wheeler's here. Mark S., my man, we'll be seeing you soon here in Texas. We got our event October 13th through the 15th in the Hill Country during the eclipse. It's going to come right through the Hill Country. You're going to want to be here. It's going to be epic. I think we got a few rooms left. Go to Into the Hills. The Hill Country sold out. Into the Hills, I think we got a couple rooms left. If you want to be a part of this 3-day event, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be doing a big breakdown on the eclipse. Darlena, the queen of human design, she's now studying eclipses as it relates to human design. So by the time we hit the event, I think Darlene is going to do a presentation on the eclipse and human design. That'll be on Sunday. We're going to have Leela. She's going to be there. She's going to do a demonstration on tremor release therapy. My good friend Shauna Home is going to be doing a presentation as well. She's a master, absolute master manifester, and she'll be the Aries part. She'll be the dark moon, and because Shauna's an Aries, and that'll be great. She's like my featured guest. She's so good. And who else? What else? We're gonna have Mark S. doing. I like to call them spirit caricatures, because what he does is so insightful and whimsical, and he really captures the zeitgeist or the spirit of an individual by creating these really magical caricatures. So he's going to be there. He's going to be doing that for everybody at the event on our little party on Saturday night. And so it's going to be fun. It'll be a really fun time. You can sign up over at robertphoenix.com. Please, the graphic for the event, I still have to swap it out. But it's a reminder of how good it was last year, because David was there and we had just a blast. Every year's been great. Every year we've had such a good time, and every year has been, very, very different from the previous years. By the way, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from David, but I think Sophia went into labor or soft labor. I know she went into soft labor. Like, she was having some contractions late last week. So I haven't heard anything, and I texted David a little bit on Friday, so we texted back and forth. So I hope everything is going well with the Leo King, the Leo Queen, and the little Leo Princess. She's about to enter this realm. It's always exciting to welcome a new life into our human family, and I'm sure that this little Leo Princess will just have the absolute stuffing spoiled out of her. Right? I can just imagine David as the doting Leo dad. You know what I mean? Like, she's just like, I see the princess wear and accessories. I can see it. It's coming. Anyway, Lots of good things to look forward to. And unfortunately, we have to talk about some stuff that's not so good tonight, particularly what's happened in Lahaina. And, I don't, it's really, I talked about this as we went into the intro a little bit before I had to reboot the show. And what I really try to steer clear from, although it's hard to do sometimes, is confirmation bias, right? We're looking for something and we'll find something until we find the thing theoretically that we're looking for. Sometimes you have a hunch and whatever is there emerges. And I had a hunch with something around this Lahaina event. It's a celestial fingerprint, and I think we found something worth talking about tonight. So we're going to get into we're going to look at the chart. We're going to look at what was happening. That event all started at 6:37 a.m. on the dawn of the Lion's Gate. Isn't that interesting? We talked about trying to compare notes around the Lion's Gate. Maybe we can do that tonight. If you have some comments you want to leave in chat, and you have something that was Lions Gate worthy, let's talk about it. Some people had some really interesting and sounds to me like pretty profound experiences. Some other people had some other things happen to them. I know at least one person got into an accident on the Lionsgate, and I'm not a huge like Lionsgate person. Like it's like I've probably done maybe one or two other shows over the amount of time I've been doing this show on Sunday night where I actually talked about it. And it just so happened that a lot of people were asking me about it. Are you going to talk about it? Are you going to talk about it? Are you going to talk about it? And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's explore it. What does it mean? What are the factors that are associated with it? And then what happens after that, right? Like, okay, well, why don't we have some kind of an intention, an intentionless intention to some degree, and then let's find out. Let's compare notes. So we'll do that tonight. But it did happen on the dawn of the Lionsgate, and I don't think we can look at the Lionsgate again with the same gaze, right? Because if you're really looking at this, you're going to associate it with what happened in Lahaina, in Maui. Now, some people would say, well, they did that on purpose. They wanted to disrupt or interrupt the power of the Lionsgate, where these, where the pole stars, right? Our sun and Sirius are in unison with one another, and then you also have Procyon. There's a whole kind of alignment, right? It starts a little bit before that, but it really peaked on the 8th of August. It's like it's supposed to be this magical, wonderful, powerful, transformational, multi-dimensional event, and now it's going to be associated really with what happened, because you can't talk about Lahaina without mentioning the fact that it took place on 8/8, which is Lionsgate territory. So we'll get into it tonight, and I had a hunch about something with it, and my hunch seems to be pretty on the money, I would say. Pretty on the money. So we'll get into that tonight. We'll get into the chart of the moment tonight, and we'll also get into this true node in Aries. It has been, I mean, really, we've seen from like the signature is here. Try this in a small town. That is a true node in Aries song. It's like, come to our small town and we're gonna whoop your ass, right? And that like broke almost the day that the nodes changed. Like, oh, isn't this interesting? And then we had this brawl, I guess, down in, or was it Mobile or someplace like that? It was just this ugly brawl. And then, of course, we have the stick man in, where was that? Stockton, California. I'm like, these are all true noted areas. We'll look at the stick man tonight, right? We'll look at the stick man tonight, and just to kind of reaffirm that we are in Paul Kersey territory. Paul Kersey, of course, is Charles Bronson's character from Death Wish. He's a vigilante. So it's people taking their power back. Now, what's also interesting is, we have the Chiron return for the U.S. coming. And I tell you right now, they're going to do everything in their power to begin to phase out Americans' right to bear arms. So one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to end private sales, right? So if you go to a gun show, and I've been to a few just to check them out, see what's happening. They have private sellers. You go to a show here in Texas, I'd say 3/4 of the room are filled with private sellers. You'll get some dealers there. They're gonna but the Biden administration is getting ready to end private sales. Now, it'll be very difficult to track if you just hey, you want to sell that? You want to sell that? Okay, because it's just like anything else, right? But what they will eliminate is they'll eliminate the marketplace in public, like the gun show. So, and some state, it's going to be interesting to see how states respond to it, because some states may just flat out say, sorry, we're not going to buy. So we're going to get into a constitutional tug of war around this. And this is the Chiron return for the U.S. So now you're going to have this vigilante energy, right? With the True Node in Aries, we're already seeing it. And then we're going to have this Chiron return in Aries in the 4th house. Now, of course, they're going to have to have an event so that, the shooter bought his guns from a private gun seller, right? This is always how these things are framed. And I would not doubt that that's in our immediate future, right? So that's all part of the story. We're in an Aries story right now with the True Node in Aries and Chiron in Aries. And eventually those two are going to collide. They're going to meet right in the center. Of course, the South Node in Libra would likely involve lots of litigation, right? Like, okay, well, we're going to litigate this and we're going to see what happens. So it may wind up ultimately going to the Supreme Court. And a lot of the Biden decisions have been overturned. So that's all part of the astrological story. Let's see who else we have here. EM333 Chaos. Hello from Maui. When you hear news of the future for the island, well, the news of the future of the island isn't good. I mean, just based on what I'm reading, I'm sure all of you are as insatiably curious as I am, right? And we live in a world now where if you don't know at least one or two people that are sending you TikTok videos or something on Facebook, you're probably living in a cave, right? So, how many people know that that Oprah and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg own big tracts of land on Maui? How many people know that they're talking about 15-minute cities on Maui? How many people know about Belton Road and using Lahaina as a deep port, right? How many people know that the legacy real estate there, the merchants who have been on Main Street in Lahaina for decades are now essentially being just tossed out, right? Why? Anytime there's a disaster, what happens? Disaster capitalism follows, and you can track it just about anywhere you go. When you look at Katrina, what happened with Katrina? They wiped out all these wards. We all know, like, Katrina was funny business. Katrina was funny business. They blew up the locks, and I mean, there was a huge shitstorm around Katrina, right? There was a lot going on there. I don't want this show to be about Katrina. What did they do? They had all these families who had been living in these homes in New Orleans, passing down the home generation after generation after generation. They wanted them out. They wanted to go in there. They wanted to rehab them, right? Gentrify them, all that shit. Disaster capitalism. This is what happens. And I guarantee you'll see disaster capitalism in Hawaii. Now, the difference here with Hawaii and Maui, this is just my own personal experience, my own personal take. is that Hawaii is part of Lemuria. It's just part. It's. I've been there a few times, and my experience with Hawaii was that it was sentient. Like the land is sentient. Like it knows who you are, and if you don't come correct in Hawaii, you'll get your ass kicked. And I got my ass kicked a couple times because um, I also have Mars in my midheaven going through Hawaii, which wasn't really good. I got it. I just gotta say it was. Is that was it on my midheaven? No, I think Mars on my ascendant. Might be on my ascendant in Hawaii. There's a Mars line there. I think it's on my ascendant. That's about right. Um, yeah, but that's how it works there, right? It's a sentient. Hawaii is a sentient. I mean, everything is a sentient consciousness, but Hawaii's is different. So they're fucking with the forces of nature, right? I mean, Hawaii's where James Cameron got in touch with the animated spirit of Pandora, right? That's where they went. They did all their stuff there in Hawaii. I don't know which island. It could have been Kauai or Maui. I'm not sure which one. But there's a reason why, right? There's a reason why because they have that great banyan tree there in Maui, and I think in Pandora that was the mother tree. I mean, there's these parallels, right, with Maui and Pandora, and I really think that's where it was because you have the mother tree and this giant banyan. I don't know what happened to the banyan tree there. It's the largest banyan tree in the United States, right? Yeah, it's the largest one in the United States, not continental. I think isn't there one in L.A. the Bodhi tree, or is that a baobab? I think it's a banyan tree in L.A. at the Bodhi tree bookstore, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, but the banyan tree in Lahaina is the biggest, right? That's the mother tree. It's exactly so. What happens? What happens in Pandora? Forces of nature win. The animated spirit of the mother goddess wins, right? According to James Cameron. James Cameron is a Hawaii guy. Wonder how he feels about this. Wonder what Mr. Master Mason of two separate lodges, Scottish Rite and the York Rite, has to feel about this. Probably not so great. So the future, if the future is based on disaster capitalism and basically flushing everybody out and then rebuilding it so that it looks like I don't know some combination of a deep water port, a major uh, tourist center in a 15-minute city. If that's what the future of Lahaina looks like, I don't think the island is going to cooperate. I don't think so. Anyway, we'll get more into that because there's a chart that I do want to bring up here as we talk about it. It's a very specific one. Well, it's the Lahaina chart, but there's another chart that we're going to bring into the mix. So we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to look at some True Node and Aries stuff tonight, and we're going to look at the chart of the moment as well. I think that's really what's on the menu. So next week it'll be what, the 20th. So next week we'll dive into Virgo. We'll do a Virgo deep dive next week, and we'll look at what's happening. We also have a Mercury retrograde coming up on the 23rd. We can talk about that next Sunday. Let's see who else we have here. Katie Lane's here. What's happening, Katie Lane? Greedy, listen well. 99, third eye activated. There she is, the lovely and talented one, Dr. Jonas. Brianna, well, there she is. And he's back. So Brianna is our GFX. How would I describe her? Our GFX uh, wizardess. I don't know. I don't want to use the word witch. That would be a disservice. She's great. She's doing all of our intros and some other really cool stuff for us. There's my man Jeff Rosen. What's going on? Finca Feliz. What's going on, Lynn? Good to see you. Jay's here. Claire. So happy my night out was rescheduled. Well, we're happy to have you here. And Glad that you're here and I'm here and we're all together. My man Ryan is here. Hanging Laundry is here. What's going on, Ryan? I owe you a phone call tomorrow. Maybe this week. Let's catch up. Susie Gemini back on the airwaves again. Watched her do a little show on her channel. Welcome back to the airwaves, Susie. Jamie, what's happening, Jay? Good to see you all the way from Panama. We got Panama in the house tonight. Let's see, still blurred out, but hearing you well. Okay, well, second time's a charm. Harry Bowie. What's happening, Harry Bowie? Back to the Future. Mary Lee, it's better. Krista Royce, missed round one. Guess what? We reloaded just for you. Grace Gravity says better. Tondar is here. Tondar. What's happening, Papa? Good to see you. I keep rebooting, no sound. Well, I don't know what to say, Lynn. Everybody else is listening. I love the Iron Sky opening. Perfect. Thanks, Robin. WC Ray. You know, this is a little this is just for WC Ray. I was watching a Robbie Robertson interview. And Robbie Robertson, anytime you ever listen to anybody talk about Jimi Hendrix, they're always in awe of Jimi Hendrix. The way Robbie Robertson tells his story about Jimi Hendrix is he's not in awe of him. It's really interesting. Like so he's telling the story, and John Hammond, the organ player, calls him up. This is back in Jimi Hendrix is alive. He says, "Hey man, I got this guy playing with my band tonight. It's in New York. You got to come see him. He's really great. He's really, really great. Really? Yeah, come down and see him." So then Brian Jones calls Robbie Robertson. And Robbie tells him about John's got this guy sitting in with him. He's supposed to be really good. Let's go see him. So Brian Jones and Robbie Robertson go and see Jimi Hendrix playing with John Hammond. Says, yeah, he was doing everything. He was playing with his mouth behind the back. And then he walked up to Jimmy and said, I know all the guitars you got that from. Right? Everybody else was like, oh, Jimmy. Robbie Robertson, yeah, I know where you got that from. I know. I called Jimmy James. That was really his name, Jimmy James. And then we sat down. He asked me about songwriting because, I was doing some songwriting for Dylan, and he really loved Dylan. So Robbie Robertson is one of the few guitar players that actually looked in his mind straight across, eye to eye with Jimi Hendrix. I think Robbie was a Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken. Dave Sullivan's here. What's going on, Dave? The Astral Guide. Amy Gill. Reboot on a grand scale. Sound is good. Rita Perea is here. Rita Perea is, let me just get Rita up there. Rita Perea is just a kick-ass consultant. If you have any business stuff and you want to reboot or you want some insight into what you're doing, go find Rita. She's great. And I'm just going to give Rita and Heather Eland a plug, because Heather, of course, studied with me a long time ago, took off like a rocket. And I know that Rita helped her on the business side of things. And Heather has been just an absolute, screaming success. So shout out to Rita there. Loved Wild Kingdom. Wild Kingdom. It was cool, right? It was definitely. I was watching one where they were way up in the Rockies, and they were like peeping on these eagles. They were peeping on these eagles, so they had to climb this like cliff face. Now, all they really had to do was take a fucking helicopter to the top of this like plateau or mountain, right? That's all they had to do. But there they were, growing up with the ropes, and Jim was up there, and Mara was up there, and then it's kind of like the moon landing. Well, how did they put the camera on the moon when Neil Armstrong got off the Eagle, right? Well, maybe he already did it and then recreated it, which is what the story is. Same thing happened with Mucho Voma's Wild Kingdom, right? There was already somebody there with the camera when they climbed up to the top of the cliff, right? They were waiting for him. Anyway, yeah, Wild Kingdom was good. Jim, he was having a hard time with that snapping turtle. Some of it's theatrics, little WWF. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. Let's why don't we get into the show and do some astrology, because I know that that's what y'all like. That's what y'all like. Let's get into the chart of the moment. Why don't we go there? Let's see. What do I want to do? Where's the chart set for? Let's find out. Let's do a fast scan. Can we do it? Let's just modify this. Give me one sec. We'll swap the town out, put a new town in, and let's do that. Let's see. By the way, I just wanted to have a thank you and gratitude moment. A thank you and gratitude moment for everybody who has supported this show over the years. Showing up. It's a Leo moment. I'm having a Leo moment. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. There are some of you actually subscribe and you're 11th house members. And by the way, we're going to tee up another event here in September for 11th house members. I'm not quite sure what it'll be. It'll either be a town hall or we'll do another webinar. But thank you for all of your support over the years. It means a lot to me. So let's see where we're going home. We're going home. Wouldn't that be nice? Going home. What is home? Where is home? Where are you at? Okay, chart of the moment. It was the chart of the moment. Let's see. Here we go. There she is. That is what's happening in the sky. Right now, we got a grand trine. Mars in Virgo at 21. And Mercury. Mars is the fiery comet, right? It is the chariot. This is really the chariot. When you have Mars and the fiery engine of Mars, and then you have Hermes sort of steering everything. In Virgo, so there's a lot of practicality. We got a Mars Uranus trine. So tomorrow, when you wipe the sleep from your bleary eyes, or perhaps if you're in another part of the world and you have, tomorrow sooner than I do, or some of the other folks do, this Mars Uranus trine is really interesting. And with the Neptune opposition, don't get okay. So there's details that are important, and then there's minutia that you'll drown in. And that's that's this Mars Neptune opposition. And I've been talking about this Mars Neptune opposition over the last week. And in light of what I was saying about Chiron at 1945, remember US Chiron's at 20. And I don't care what sign Mars is in, it's still Mars. And we have this very deceptive opposition with Neptune. And what does Virgo always do? Well, we have to do this. We think of Aquarius as the greater good in a lot of ways, but I think sometimes Virgo can be the executioner of the greater good. You know what I mean? Like the school teacher that is just gonna do the dirty work. And the sort of the no nonsense old school mom. I had one when I was in second grade. Her name was Mrs. Abraska. I'll never forget her. Kind of like Abraxas and Nebraska together. She was fucking old school, right? When I think of Mars and Virgo, I think of these officious kinds of civil servants who think they're doing, the work of God, right? That's what I think of Mars and Virgo a little bit. Yeah, we're on a mission, but it's all the small stuff. It's all the petty stuff. It's like things that you don't read in a contract, or maybe it's somebody walking around your neighborhood and they belong to the HOA board, and they're looking up your latest violation. Oh, yeah, that RV It's about 5 feet, 5 feet out from where it needs to be. You better move it. You got to move it up about 5 feet. If you don't, I'm going to write you up and we're going to find you. Right? Mars and Virgo can be like that. Very officious, but it's the small shit. It's death by, 20,000 paper cuts, death by 20,000 civil servants, right? And so when we have this Neptune opposition coming up, look out. Look out. This is for the greater good. Really? Really? Uh-huh. So where are we? We have to check in next week, next Sunday, as Mars approaches this opposition. The other thing, too, it cuts both ways. It cuts both ways. If we can apply, say, Mars coming in, hitting that trine with Pluto and Capricorn, maybe kind of midpoint this thing at about 25. So it's still in trine with Uranus, but coming in and having a nice tight trine there with Pluto, retrograde, and Capricorn. Oh, yeah. Who are the COVID criminals? Who are those people? Yeah, that's where. So this is interesting. I like this. I like it when the stakes of the universe get high, right? It's kind of like, okay, this could be extremely deceptive here. Just, theater, right? The theater of mind control, and then the implication of the application of the problem reaction solution, the Hegelian dialectic. Mars and Virgo loves Hegelian dialectic because Virgo wants to find a solution, right? Problem action, problem reaction solution. But I think this could go sideways. This could go a little sideways. To me, this is a bit of a fog cutter, and especially with Mercury. You know what it reminds? Okay, this reminds me of. Do you remember? What was it? It was I think was it Hale Bop? Was it Hale Bop and the Companion? Do you remember that? It was sort of the prelude to Heaven's Gate, and that whole thing down in San Diego, right? And if you really followed that, Art Bell and Ed Dames really fucked over this guy Courtney Brown. And I used to have Courtney on my show a long time ago. He was a semi-regular guest. I had him on at least 3 or 4. I really like Courtney Brown. And Courtney Brown and his remote viewing team viewed this companion, right, which they saw as part of this Hale Bopp thing. I'm pretty sure it was around the Hale Bopp time, right? It was the companion of this comet. And so Art Bell and Ed Dames and Courtney Brown were talking about this thing. And it turns out that the Heaven's Gate people were there are some people that say that there's a whole other thing going on with Heaven's Gate that could be too, or true as well. But it's like they have this thing, and then the Heaven's Gate people believe that it is the companion is the thing that's going to take them home. Now, where did they get the so-called imagery from this companion? It was from Hawaii. It was the observatory. I think it was Maui, if I'm not mistaken. So they're talking about, and then so what happens is that the Heaven's Gate cult, right? They just do it. They're all wearing their Nikes. They just do it. And then Art Bell and Ed Dames have Courtney Brown back on. And they tell Courtney Brown that it was all set up, that it wasn't true, that they were testing. I mean, it was really fucking, I thought it was just evil. I couldn't listen to Art Bell again after that. I thought, oh, you guys really, you either entrap this guy, because if that's the dirty little secret about this whole thing, like this whole there was the companion, and supposedly the Heaven's Gate people, like, okay, there it is, they're here now, we're ready to jump on this thing, energetically speaking, of course, and go. Well, anyway, there's your companion right there. Right there. Mars, Mercury. And Mercury is going to catch up. And Mercury's faster than Mars. Mercury will overtake Mars. They'll have Mercury ahead of Mars. And that's a whole different ball game here, right? This is acting for the greater good. Once Mercury gets ahead of Mars, it's like, okay, well, maybe we should think this through. Let's think this through and then act, which is really, in some ways, the best course of action. So I think, let's see, we're going to have, it's 4 degrees, so it's 4 days to get to 21. Now, Mercury does go retrograde on the 23rd, so it must go retrograde kind of right here. Let's find out. Let us not tarry, as they say. Let's find out what we got. I want to see this. Every time I speak in generalities, I have to remind myself that I'm a Virgo. It's like, don't let your sign down. Okay. Plus, it's just better content if I'm telling you what the days are. Am I right? It's like, we're fucking paying you for this, Robert. Okay. Here we go. All right. I'm glad I checked. Mercury goes retrograde at 21. So it's slowing down now. Right? Mercury is slowing down. It stations at 21. And it stations on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So the closest we get. So Mars is lead the show. And I'm glad I was able to clarify this. So let's do this. I'm going to come back. I want to share this. And here we go. Let's do this. I'll give you guys the. Where we present. I'll give you guys the window to what I'm talking about. So here's your ephemeris. This is where we are on the 13th. Bada bang, right there. Right there's Mercury. Venus is retrograde. There's Mars. So this 3-degree orb is about as close as we get. So you can see Mercury start to slow down here, and then the station. And then Mars is moving forward. Then we get retrograde. And we'll get retrograde next week. It'll be on the 24th. But by that time, Mars is separated up by 6 degrees, which I actually think is pretty good. Anytime you get Mercury and Mars too close together, especially in Virgo, it's a little frenetic and a little anal. But it'd be interesting to see what would happen if Mercury was ahead of Mars. It's not going to happen, though. So Mercury's going to go retrograde. Venus is already there. And the Great Chariot, driven by Mars and piloted by Hermes, is what we're looking at right now. All right, let me do the stop share. Let's go back to that chart of the moment. Let's have another look at that. There it is right there. And boom. Right, so we have a nice grand trine. Mercury gets to 21, right? So it will be in trine with Uranus, much closer. I think about 1 degree orb in terms of separation. And then we have it getting closer to Pluto. So we're still in this grand trine territory. And even next week, like when Mercury does go retro, where's Mars? The 27th. So it's getting closer to Pluto, right? So I really like this grand Earth trine because you can be adaptable. Like Mercury is mutable sign, right? Mars, mutable sign. Virgo, mutable sign. And we have fixed, we have cardinal. And it's kind of, at least tonight, it's kind of leading the pack. You know, the inner planets are setting the clock here on this. So it's attention to detail, innovation, sticking to things so that you don't lose focus. These are all really, really important elements for just anybody, right? Like, again, I've been preaching the gospel of getting things done. And Mercury is trining Jupiter. So it's one of those trines where if you find yourself working and you find yourself engaged in details, Jupiter brings more. Brings more. It's like, oh, look at this. Look at this. Oh, great, 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 right? Even with all the retrograde planets right now, we have these two companions that are sort of, step by step, logically, rationally, kind of leading the way, like getting us out of the jungle here a little bit. And so Mercury goes retrograde, and I don't even think that's terrible or bad. Anytime Mercury retrograde is about to happen, you see the memes. The memes start to come. It's like, whoa, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Are we going to have a lot of retrograde planets? Sure. Absolutely. Is it the end of the world? No, it's not. Because astrology impacts everybody. Yes, everybody. Even people who believe that they're outside of the influence of astrology, like the elites. Let's talk about Saturn. Look at Saturn. Saturn right now, it's a singleton. Look at that. Now, is that going to break anytime soon? Oh man, we're going to have Saturn as singleton here for a minute, right? What is singleton? It's when there's no major aspects with Saturn. Look at this, straight across, nothing. Straight down here, the first thing you get into is this semi-sextile with the ascendant, and that's it. Right, that's it right there, and that's nothing. That's not considered a major aspect whatsoever, not even with the ascendant, right? So what does that mean? So this is interesting. The elites are hanging out there. They're hanging out. Their butt cheeks are in the wind. So when you talk about something now, like what might have happened in Maui, guess what? There's no cover here. No cover whatsoever. And within a short period of time, you've got 15-minute cities coming up. You've got Oprah coming up. You've got, I think Obama has land on Maui, right? All these things, the Chinese, Belt and Road, deep water ports, it's all there, right? Right there. Saturn is exposed. This is a very interesting aspect. And it won't resolve itself until the moon moves into Virgo. And that's 2 days away, 2.5 days away. So we have 2.5 days of Saturn just hanging out there. Okay, so this will be interesting. And again, this is, we're dealing with Pisces and the retrograde and just all the high strange that happened during this freak fire. Where all of a sudden these boats out on the ocean are catching on fire, right? How do people not see that? And how do they unsee it once they've seen it? This is going to be a very interesting period with Saturn singleton over the next 42 hours or 48 hours. Really interesting. What will be revealed? What are people going to see that they hadn't seen before? Right? It's like, oh, look at that. There's no cover. There is no cover. This is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And of course, it's in Pisces first decan. It didn't even get out. I think it went retrograde at 7. Really fascinating. Wow, look at that. Look at that. This is exposure, right? This is exposure. And I'm trying to think of on a like an individual level what that would look like. Let's just have a kind of a blanket assignation, right? That it is the quote unquote so-called elite looking not very elite. Now, the other thing with Saturn, we can bring it back to you and I, is that when there's a singleton in a chart, and I've worked with people that have singleton, I've known people, like there was somebody I knew very, very well with a singleton in Mercury and Scorpio. And if you talk to this person face to face, you would not think that this person was very bright. Like you would have the assumption that this person was your typical kind of ditzy blonde. Okay. Um, because she was with that singleton, she wasn't really articulate. Like things stood out. Like that's what happens. Things stand out, and her voice stood out. And she had a voice that was, for some people, very hard to listen to. And she couldn't really articulate her thoughts. Now, if she sent you an email or a series of text messages, you would know that this person was incredibly bright, right? With that Mercury and Scorpio coming through, lots of depth, and just going, wow, man, you're fucking smart. Not just smart, but you're deep too, smart and deep. Wow, that's interesting. But in person, you would not have that picture. You would just look at the individual, you'd hear the voice, you'd go, okay, this is Carol Wayne. You know who Carol Wayne is, or don't know who she was. She was always on Johnny Carson. She was blonde, she had big boobs, and she played the role of like the ditzy. And Marilyn Monroe is the same way. Although Marilyn Monroe had a nice voice, Carol Wayne had that really kind of high pitched, squeaky voice in a lot of ways. Anyway, that's a singleton. It stands out in some ways, but you don't always get the full picture. You don't always get the full picture with a singleton, but it does stand out. So here we go. We see the elites with their ass cheeks hanging out there naked. That's what Saturn is, right? It's the hierarchy. It's the people on top in this whole retrograde thing. And they're going to do everything in their power to try to nail this event with Lahaina to the cross of global warming. And of course, we had the fires in Canada. So, they're just going to start, adding it up, tabulating it right here. Here's the receipt. Here's the receipt. The planet's on fire. Okay. It's on fire. Well, we have to ask ourselves the question, right? What's really going on? Could we be dealing with a reset? Just like the resets that happened in Tartaria and all that other stuff, right? Could we be dealing with something like that? Is this part of the narrative? Do they know that this is what's coming? Right? Are they just jumping on the fact that they know that these cycles happen and another one is coming and they are trying to let people know in their it's global warming. What's going to happen is that the sun is going to microwave everybody, right? Is this what they're trying to do, or are they hijacking the narrative and creating it? It's an interesting question. Either way, this is what we're dealing with, right? So the next 48 hours with Saturn retrograde in Pisces, sit there and watch these people. Now, I think some of this has to do with COVID. Right? When I think of Saturn retrograde Pisces, I'm thinking of hospitals. I'm thinking of TikTok videos and people dancing. Remember those videos? I'm thinking of Anthony Fauci, who's a Capricorn. Next 48 hours are revelatory. Somebody or somebody's at a high level do not fare well. The emperor has no clothes. That window does close when we get this new moon, right? We get the new moon coming in, the blue moon, the second of two full, we have this, I guess the next full moon would be with the moon in Aquarius, which is by the end of the month. We're only at the 13th day of the month. So that's going to be the second, actually it's going to be in, it'll be before, let's see, it's in the month here. Okay, now I got to go back in. Once I start doing this. Okay. So let's look at when that full moon is going to happen. 31st. 31st. It's still in the month of August. And the sun will be in Virgo and the moon will be in Pisces. So there you go. That's the second full moon of the month in Pisces. It'll be an interesting blue moon too. Because all the water signs are in blue, right? So it'll literally be a blue moon. blue moon, and it'll conjunct Saturn. That'll be really interesting too. So if we look at the next 48 hours and things that come out over the next 48 hours, in the retrograde, we're looking into the past. Who did what? Who was involved with what, what orders were given. And then you have this full moon come in, this blue moon come in, illuminating Saturn on the 31st. Yeah, hello. Sun in the opposite direction. In Virgo, we got a retrograde. And what's the sun doing on the 30? I'm sorry, Mercury. What's Mercury doing on the 31st? It's retrograded back to 19 degrees, so only 2 degrees. So we're not quite there, right? The sun is at 7, the moon is at 6, Mercury's at 19, Venus is retrograding at 12, and it's about to go direct in September. So Venus goes direct on the 4th of September. You know what I did on this Venus retrograde? I apologize to somebody. I used the Venus retrograde to apologize to somebody. It was a good apology. Overdue, long overdue, and it was actually received. You know, it's great when somebody accepts your apology. Anyway, I don't know if anybody else has been had to accept an apology during Venus retrograde, or maybe you doled one out. It was good. It was timely. It was a timely apology. That's what Venus retrograde is good for, right? It's like, yeah, I fucked up. So hey, I'm sorry. Right? And it's going to go retrograde. I think it goes all the way back into Virgo. So the apologies you make now, right, with the intent of keeping your heart open, as it retrogrades back into Virgo, the realignment of that apology and the reconnection with other people leads to purpose. It's like, oh yeah, right. That's what we were doing. Right. Oh yeah, I get it. And I'll tell you, if you can do it now in Leo, it's better than having to do it in Virgo. And I'll tell you why. Because in Virgo, sometimes the response isn't always met well. It can be critical. Like, what the fuck took you so long? Why did you take so fucking long to do that? I don't know. I was I had to get to the place where I could do it. Timing is everything. It's everything. I think there's more. Even though Virgo is mutable, I think the retrograde Venus and Leo is a bit more forgiving. Let's put it that way. We got a really interesting alignment here. Look at this. We got a mystic rectangle. We got a grand trine. We got some oppositions going on. This is a fascinating month. And the next 48 hours with this Saturn, revelatory, I'm telling you. Totally revelatory. Not a lot of air in the chart. We have the ascendant, and that's going to end. So in a couple of hours, we'll have no air in the chart. I have to end the show, or we'll run out of oxygen before we change signs here. Let me refresh it. Let's see where we are now. Do a little refreshment here. Let's see. Come on. So we're still at 3. I guess where did we start at 2? There we go. Let's see. Sun, Venus. We've got I tell you, we've got this Sun Uranus square coming. There already, but Monday and then Tuesday, it's really at its apex. That Sun Uranus square is pretty rebellious. So we have this Sun Uranus square, and then we have this Saturn singleton. Wow. I think people are going to be pissed. That's what I think. I think the natives are restless. The natives are restless. And the emperor has no clothes. Right there. Doesn't it feel like we're getting close to that? I mean, when Tim Pool has a segment on Maui and he talks about directed energy weapons, this shit is hitting mainstream. Like, Tim Pool is way more mainstream than, I don't know, fill in the blank. a lot of people, you know, this whole conspiracy lane has been occupied by mainstreamers. Totally occupied. Like you, Patrick Bet David, big time mainstream guy. He's kind of moved into that lane. Right? They've all kind of moved. Even Tucker Carlson has kind of moved into the lane. It's interesting. So when you have those kinds of high level influencers, you know, dipping their toes in I told you so, right? The dipping their toes in Alex Jones's waters. We're starting to reach critical mass. Now, I'm not saying that Alex Jones is necessarily somebody you want to follow. I'm just using him as a model. And whenever you think of Q was an accelerant. That's what Q was. Q was an accelerant. And I've talked about this before. You had baseball moms. Now, all of a sudden, going down the rabbit holes of the Federal Reserve, going down the rabbit holes of child trafficking, going down the rabbit holes of chemtrails, right? It's like all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit. You know, you had this quantum accelerating moment. The challenge with the whole Q thing is for a lot of people, it didn't turn out the way that they thought it would turn out. Just it didn't turn out the way they thought it would turn out. And it could be very demoralizing. Oh, I believe in all this shit and I trusted the plan. Well, look, you have to realize that you got a major education very quickly. Maybe some of the information might have been a little fluff, but you also had people that you were having that experience with. And that's what really enables people to learn. Well, it's like, well, if they think that this could be true, and they think this could be true, and I think it could be true, well, there's a really good chance that it might be true. And I'm not alone in believing that it could be true, right? So that was huge. And I don't think, and there may have been people that have walked away from the how would I call it? The cosmology. But it doesn't change the fact that they had a door open into their life in a way that they had not seen before or experienced before. So, you know, once you go down the rabbit hole, you can never come back. You can't come back. It's just it. You can't come back. There's no turning back at that point. You just have to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And, you know, maybe you'll break on through to the other side. And along the way, you'll find things that can be both enlightening and also uh, challenging. Right? Like a lot of this stuff is very dark. But that was one of the things about Q that I think was kind of important. It's like it was, you kind of had this built-in support group for the darkness. And I don't think a lot of those, I think some of the people walked away from a lot of the structure or whatever, right? All those channels, they eventually got turned off or, but the material changed them. And in as much as they want to demonize and you know put Trump into a category where when they want to categorize him as being whatever, and then discredit the information. That's really kind of what the plan looks like. It's not happening. It's not happening. When you have Tucker Carlson going mainstream on this stuff, where's it all? And again, I'm not saying that you should follow Tucker Carlson, right? He's kind of a deep state baby, but he's kind of going mainstream with these ideas. Like he's way more down the rabbit hole than he was when Ron Paul ran for president. That's for damn sure. So here we have Saturn retrograde, singleton hanging out there in the wind. Keep your eyes. The next 48 hours, before this moon moves into Virgo, it's going to come in. It's going to hit Leo. It's going to hit that Venus. It's going to hit the sun. There's some square action going on, and people are going to be pissed. And there's no cover here. The emperor has no clothes. Very interesting time. Very, very interesting. You don't get this very often. I mean, in charts, I may see a singleton planet like that once every, I don't know, 500 readings. I mean, look, nada, right? Nada. Fascinating chart. I like this chart. I mean, look, there's not a lot of error. I get it, right? So you're in the water, you're in the bowels of the earth, right? And clearly there's enough fiery energy to kind of, keep things moving. But hey, there's a different rising sign on the way throughout the day. So keep that in mind. The moon is in Cancer. I think here in the northern hemisphere in North America, you should sleep all the night, right? You should get you theoretically, you might have some intense dreams with that moon Pluto opposition, but you also have that moon Neptune trine. And if you meditate or listen to meditative music tonight, might be one of those nights where it could be good for you. Help open up your dream space. All right, there we go. There's your chart of the moment. I think we got a good hour's worth of content. Some biquintiles in the air as well. Neptune biquintile, Venus, Neptune biquintile, the sun. It's that energy. The biquintiles are happening right here, right? So 144 degrees. And they're in the biquintile zone for at least the next day. And that's kind of a blessing. Right? They get to look around and count your blessings. Be thankful, be grateful. And the biquintile opens up. Let's see any other. So those are the main ones. We got a Mars biquintile to the True Node. That's another 144 degrees. I like this one better. I like this one with Neptune. Peaceful. Give thanks for the blessings in your life. Here we go. All right. That's your chart of the moment. Let's get into the True Node. I wanted to get into this True Node. See if I can find this this video. Now, you know what happens? Apparently, when I do these videos, let me see this. When I do videos here, if I don't have, okay. To me, I'm just gonna play this thing. I'll play it kind of. You'll be able to see it. I hope you'll be able to hear it. Here, let's do this. To me, this was in a lot of ways, even beyond the fact. I mean, the Jason Aldean track was the soundtrack for the True Node and Aries. But when this guy started whooping this dude's ass, it's like, this is what I was talking about. This was the vigilante energy. The guy's taking his law enforcement into his own hands. Here we go.
And nothing you can do, man, until police come in. Hey, no, hey, don't. Hey, and nothing you can do, man. Don't do that. Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
Sorry.
Okay, brother. Okay.
These guys have had enough, right? He's getting his spanking.
That's called whooping your ass. That's called.
Okay, so this is. Let me freeze frame this. The dude in the background who is videotaping this, and I saw on a bunch of newscasts. He's the South Node in Libra. He's the South Node in Libra. He's like, yeah, you can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. Let's wait till the police come. You got insurance? right? He's the South Node in Libra. Dude with the stick is the True Node in Aries. And by the time the video is over, that guy's flipped he's done a pole shift. He says, oh, that's what you call an ass whoop. Let me play it again. I'm sorry. This is my Schadenfreude. I get immense pleasure out of watching this. I know it's kind of fucked up, right? But how many times have we seen these people just come into these stores? They're going to fucking, you know what's going to happen? Because they're letting this happen, they're going to change retail. They're going to get rid of stores. Okay? They're going to get rid of stores. They're going to have a kiosk. You're just going to walk up and you're going to fucking, have the thing in your phone. And then they'll read your phone and somebody will come out. Maybe it's a drone. Who knows? You'll get your package. Shopping, as we know it, is going to be over with. So they're letting this happen. They're weaponizing this stuff. So retailers go, we want to get out of the retail. Problem, reaction, solution. Here's the problem. The problem is we have unabated crime. Unabated crime. The reaction is, oh my God, this is terrible. The solution. Well, guess what? We have a new solution for you. Get rid of your retail space. That's what we're going to do. Everything will be on your phone and everything will be pre-ordered. You got a whole business model. You got a whole technology model just lined up, waiting to provide all of that, right? And then you have the sick with a stick. I got to play it again. Here we go.
And nothing you can do, man, until police come in. Hey, don't. Hey, and nothing you can do, man. Don't do that. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. Okay, brother. Okay. Whooping his ass down. That's called whooping your ass. That's called.
You see how that guy? He flipped. He went from the South Node of Libra to Aries. That's called whooping your ass. I know. I probably shouldn't take that much pleasure in watching that guy get his ass whooped, but I do. I'm sorry, I do, because it's kind of funny, right? And the guys that are doing the ass whooping, they're hitting him on the shins and on the butt. They're not breaking his nose. They're not breaking his ribs. If they could, would they? I don't know, because the guy didn't hold him by his legs, right? He didn't hold him by his legs. He held him by his arms. And I don't think they worked that out. That was just their way of teaching this guy a lesson. Do you think this guy's going to steal fucking cigarettes again? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do that. That's your True Node and Aries moment right there. That's your Paul Kersey vigilante store moment right there. And we're just getting started. We are just getting started with it. All right, so let's take a look. I went back in time. And what do we got here? I went back in time. Now, the most significant period, grab a bunch of dates. 2014. 2014 was when the South Node was in Aries. And the True Node was in Libra. So what are they? 19 and a half year cycles. So you got to cut them in half. So let me show you this. Let me show you guys what was going on in 2014. All right. Oh, look at that. February 22nd. Yeah. 29 Libra. That's when it all starts, right? 2014. The Revolution of Dignity. The Verkhovna Rada, the Ukrainian parliament, votes to remove President Viktor Yanukovych from office, replacing him with Alexander Turchinov after days of civil unrest, leaving 100 people dead in Kiev. That's when it all started. It all started with the South Node in Aries, right? And here we go. The True Node is there. That cycle is coming to a close. It's coming to a close. They can't run this Ukrainian thing forever. That's why this African thing is happening. The other thing too, like when you think of Victoria Newland, I was thinking about her name because her real name is Noodleman. Her real name is Noodleman, but they changed it to Newland. And it's like, let's have our battle goddess with the name Victoria, which is victorious in the new land. We're going to send our battle goddess out there. Right. So we're going to see, we're probably going to see a tidal shift or seismic shift away from Ukraine to Africa because this is coming to an end. This started when the South Node was in Aries in 2014. The True Node is in Aries, the completion of a cycle. Now you can see everything that happened. Russia formally annexes Crimea. Oh, yeah, we had Flight 370. Remember that? The one that disappeared March 8th? Ooh, I want to bring you some news on that. Well, that plane, if you follow it, what happened? Okay, so that plane, they repurposed that plane. And there was another Malaysia Airlines plane that went down over where? It went down over, if I'm not mistaken, Ukraine. It was shot down. There's a bunch of dead bodies already. That's a whole other story. All right. March 21st, Russia formally annexes Crimea after President Vladimir Putin signs a bill finalizing the process. It all happened then. Everything that we're seeing now happened then. Okay, so these two flights, 370 and 17, they're connected. I go back at my website, and I was like as deep into this thing as I possibly could be. Flight 370, I believe, is Flight 17. And they changed the numbers on it. Crashed in eastern Ukraine after being shot down by a missile. All 298 people on board are killed. From what I heard, the crew or the people that did the rescue job on this, they reported that the bodies on that plane had been dead. They'd been dead. Now, had they been dead since March 8th? I don't know. That when I say dead, not like, oh, well, here's, no. They, not only were they dead when the plane crashed, the bodies had been dead for a while. Isn't it weird, right? You have this plane, March 8th, both Malaysia Airlines. One disappears, one crashes. Where? Ukraine. Fucking weird, right? And when you look at the colors of Malaysia Airlines, they're the same colors as Ukraine. Like there was so much Neptunian stuff going on then too. It was like really crazy, wild Neptune shit. Here you go. You got sanctions. It all starts to happen. The self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic state that unilaterally declares independence from Ukraine. It all started then. So it means it has to end now, right? It started with the South Node in Aries. It has to end now. Now keep your eye out here. So you also have the shooting of Michael Brown. That happens on August 9th, Ferguson, Missouri. So remember the name Michael Brown. The name Michael Brown is going to come up again. And this is the highest range of astrology. But the Michael Brown event in Ferguson is really the event that kicks off Black Lives Matter. That's when they come out in full force, right? Hands up, don't shoot. This is when the PSYOP goes into full. Starts with Trayvon Martin. Remember, Martin is Martian, right? It is Martian. It is Marshall. It is Aries, right? And then we have the South Node in Aries. And what do we see? We see these young pictures of Michael Brown, and he looks like a nice, fresh-faced kid. He stole shit from what? From the convenience store. He was stealing cigarettes. He was stealing Lucy's. They call loose cigarettes, like Lucy's. He stole them. Cops, people call the cops on him. Cop shows up, says, "Hey, what's going on?" Michael Brown was huge. He was a big dude. He tried to take the gun away from the cop. Of course, he gets shot, and then that's when everything starts, right? So theoretically, we're supposed to close the time loop here with this. This is what we're doing. We're closing time loops with the True Node in Aries. You got some Scottish independence, referendum, that doesn't go anywhere. And Obama says, oh, yeah, we're going to be buddy pals with Cuba. That's deeper, much deeper. But it all starts here. It all starts here. True Node, 29 Libra South Node, Aries, 2014, bang, right? And they're moving away from Ukraine. They're gonna move the war theater, the conflict theater to Africa because they done fucked up in Ukraine. They fucked up with the Nord Stream pipeline. All right. So remember the name Michael Brown because we're gonna go back in time again. Going way back in time. So here we go. Let's go all the way back to 2005. Because that's the last time the True Node was in Aries. Right there. On January 5th, the most massive known dwarf planet in the solar system is discovered by a team led by Michael E. Brown. Right? So you have Michael Brown who discovers Eris January 5th, 2005. And then during the South Node in Aries, you have Michael Brown who was shot in Ferguson, Missouri. And what do we see coming out of that? Discordia. Like the discordia of the whole Black Lives Matter movement, it culminating in George Floyd. Like that shit is weird, right? It is just freaky weird. You have these two Michael Browns. One of them is pivotal with the South Node in Aries. The other discovers Eris. Wild, right? Now, this is also interesting. February 14th, YouTube was launched. True Node in Aries. That's significant. Why? Because that gave people the power to do what we're doing right now and publish video and stream. February 14th, True Node in Aries, which means that theoretically there's going to be another iteration of this. I'm assuming it would be what Elon Musk is going to do with X in the video there. Whatever you think, Elon Musk, good guy, bad guy, whatever, right? We know that these cycles replicate themselves. So we're going to have enough. And look, this was, and I'll show you, I'll go back another nodal cycle, and I'll show you how this stuff operates. So we're in a loop. We're in a loop of personal innovation, liberation of information and technology with the True Node in Aries. Then you've got a bunch of global warming stuff, Kyoto Protocol, right? Oh, keep an eye here with China ratifies anti-secession law preventing Taiwan from declaring independence. That's going to come up. We are going to see that. We're going to see China and Taiwan. That war theater is going to come up. That conflict is going to come up before the True Node gets out of Aries. It's going to happen. Global warming, right? Kyoto Protocol. I thought this was really interesting. August 14th. Oh, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is launched from Cape Canaveral, designed to explore Mars. Of course, you have a Mars explorer being launched on the True Node in Aries. They're accentuating Mars. This was, again, August 14th. Helios Airways Flight 522. What did we see in August? In the last one, I think it was the flight that crashed in Ukraine, right? Flight 522 en route from Larnaca, Cyprus to Prague, Czech Republic via Athens, crashes in the hills near Grammatico, Greece, killing 121 passengers. Helios is the sun under Leo, Gematria 522. Holocaust, Aryan, Second Son, Lucius, Karl Marx. Those are all part of the gematria. I was just playing around with that. And then we have on September 30th, controversial drawings of Muhammad are printed in the Danish newspaper. Chillins Posten, sparking outrage and violent riots by Muslims around the world. So and what we just saw the stick man who was Muslim whooping that guy's ass. I'm not saying that the two are completely linked, but you can see you can definitely see some links. Global warming is going to come up, right? What are they going to do here? Right? Are they going to culminate a lot of the global warming stuff with the True Node and Aries take possession, power, control, or is there going to be something else that happens on the other side of this? All right, let me show you another one here. This is the last one I want to show you guys. It's really interesting. I think these cycles are interesting. So we go back to True Node and Aries in 1986. We're staying with this True Node theme. Here we go. Look at this. February 3rd, Pixar, founded by John Lasseter along with Steve Jobs. So what did we have? We had Pixar, which Pixar was kind of revolutionary. It was this independent studio that was going to make animated films outside of the Disney fucking, universe, right? Pixar was revolutionary. It had great talent, and it gave Steve Jobs something to do while, Apple was roasted on a stick, and then they eventually brought him back. So you had Pixar, True Node and Aries. You had YouTube, True Node and Aries. What's coming next? I'm going with Musk and X. So again, you can see some very kind of, intense Mars, Aries related stuff. You had Chernobyl happening during that time. You had what else? Olaf Palme, True Node and Aries, shot to death. Microsoft holds its initial IPO, March 14th, True Node and Aries. The Single European Act is signed, right? So now we're getting ready to move out of the Russian story, right? Glasnost and Perestroika. The Single European Act. This is European Union, right? They're putting together they're querying kind of globalist, hegemonic, one body for all. Halley's Comet reaches perihelion. That happened 1986. True Node and Aries. Interesting stuff. Let's see. They've got a lot of like kind of Nazi, Mars, Soviet, and then you have Chernobyl melting down April 26th. 1986 was a big fucking year. You had this guy going postal, Aries, True Node and Aries, Patrick Sherrill. That's where we got the term going postal, is this dude. Edmond, Oklahoma. Let's see. Reagan signs the Goldwater-Nichols Act. The large reorganization of the Department of Defense. We brought everything into like one giant envelope, right? You had Iran-Contra happening here. On Hill, remember her? All Aries stuff, all, related to the military. This is when the United States was kind of at the peak of its powers. Right here, True Node Aries, 1986. By the time Reagan gets out of office, they're bringing Bush in, it's the downhill slant very quickly. That's what happens. So there you go. There's some True Node and Aries stuff. And I also did a few other things too. I started on this last week. So if you want to know how the True Node affects you in the sign of Aries, I took care of that for you. Why don't we go house by house? And let's look at it. See, you're getting full service here tonight. You're getting a full service. You're getting cycles, you're getting time, you're getting how this is going to affect you on a personal level. There you go. True Node in Aries. So if you're an Aries rising, that's where that True Node is going to be transiting through. So I've got a bunch of keywords here for the journey around the wheel. So true node in Aries, you put yourself first. Stepping out, risk for new, itching for action, going alone, and it's action over words. So it's like being a double Aries, right? If you're an Aries rising, it's all about you. It's all about you, and you don't have to ask permission. No permission here. Now, on the south side, right, doesn't mean you can't have a relationship, but it's going to be defined by your needs. I tell this to people. If you have the true node in the first house, it doesn't mean you have to be a solo, person. You can have a relationship with the south node, but it's got to be defined on your terms. Clearly defined on your terms. And every relationship that comes out of it will be better. You cannot put the relationship before who you are. But just like if you have the true node in the seventh house, you can't put yourself before the relationship. You have to go, okay, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna define the terms and conditions, or we're gonna define the terms and conditions. And then over here, we'll let that part of our relationship play out. Right? But this is, if you got the true node transiting the first house, self first, stepping out, risk for new, itching for action, going alone, action over words. And what happens with these nodes is that sometimes they can be uncomfortable for people. It's like, oh, I got to go do this. But if you step into it, it's not as hard. And this is the whole lesson with Aries, is stepping into it. There's another one right here. So true node in the second house. So that means you're going to be Pisces rising. Taking financial control. You have to be careful being a little over-secure here. And you also have to pay attention to hoarding. But man, if you work hard with a true node in Aries, take financial control, there's some entrepreneurial energy involved, and you definitely are earning some sweat equity, right? You want to be independent. You want to be financially independent. That's your true node in Aries moment. Pisces rising. I'm sorry. What is that? Yeah, Pisces rising, right? It might be a little difficult. But if you get moving in the right direction and you commit to your financial stability, security, put your head down, you will cover lots of ground. All right. What else do we have? All right. True node transiting third house. This one's interesting. I think they're all interesting. True node third house. Pedal to the metal, getting involved. Sibling rivalry. Finish what you start. Finding your voice. Definitely a conversation starter, right? You're taking initiation in conversation, in communication. Third house is the world around you, right? You could also become very hands-on in your local scene. If you have any interest in politics whatsoever, locally, you want to run for office, or you want to get involved in this true node, if you have the true node transit, it means you're going to be Aquarius rising, right? It's a good time to do it. Good time to get involved. Don't sleep on it. Pedal to the metal, getting involved, sibling rivalry, finish what you start, finding your voice, and don't be afraid to start conversations. You're the one. You're the conversation starter. All right, let's do another one. Let's go to the fourth house. Pioneer life, homesteading, hand to hand with your mother. Right? You got true node. You got things to deal with your mother with true node in Aries. Satellite commuters, home team, meaning that you're working out of your home, right? Home team, you're taking control. You're anchoring that true node and hand to hand with your mother, I guess. There you go. The mother being the earth, the property, the land. This is the pioneer life. You got the true node going through your fourth house. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to break new ground. Aries is pioneer energy all around. It's always out front, right? It is always out front. So that means you're going to be Capricorn rising. Okay, let's do another one. How about the fifth house? Well, that's what I've got going on here. I got the True Node transiting my fifth house, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this serious sports thing. Pastime, sports. I'm going to see where we can ride this wave. So here we go. The sporting life, martial pastimes, peak experiences, mano a mano. The kids are all right. Kids being children. This is where I think you have the True Node in the fifth house. You're inevitably going to run into the games kids play, the games adults play because they played them when they were kids. Mano a mano, right? This is like, boxing, fighting. Again, Aries. Aries is pastime. Aries is sport. Martial pastimes, the sporting life. And if you are engaged in finding a hobby, the True Node in Aries in the fifth house can be really good. Maybe you want to take up hunting. Might be fun. All right, what else do we have? Let's do another one. Let's see. Let's go to, how about the sixth house? Some of these I'm just playing with keywords right? Or key phrases. True Node, transiting sixth house. Health Nazis. Take this job and shove it. It's dental time. If you have the True Node going through your sixth house, you want to get your teeth worked on. By the way, if you're in Austin, Dr. John will fix you up. Beware burnout. Don't work too hard with the True Node going through your sixth house. And then I use the word frenemies there. I don't know why. Honestly, frenemies. I think it might have to do with if you have Mars in the sixth house, it's considered open enemies. If you have Mars in the 12th house, it's considered hidden enemies. So I use the word frenemies there, kind of making a bridge between the two, right? Like when I was a kid, I remember getting into a fight with this guy in elementary school. We became buddies afterwards. That's what kids did. You get into a fight and the guy became your friend. So there you go. Frenemies, health Nazis, take this job and shove it. That means you're tired of it. You want something else to do. Take responsibility for it. It's dental time. Beware burnout, and then frenemies. Question mark. Okay. Are you guys enjoying this? I hope you're enjoying it. I got a kick out of it. Let's do True Node in the seventh house. Opposite house here, right? Opposite house. So what does it look like when you have the True Node in the seventh house? Because you're going to be in a relationship. It's important, but what kind? Follow the leader. Partnership, question mark. Dictatorship, question mark. Seek out expert help. Right? Those are contracts. So you're looking for somebody that might be able to help you out here with the True Node in Aries. Right? Let's about empowerment. Let's look at Aries as empowerment. Working with people that can empower your situation. Follow the leader, right? If you have the True Node in Aries in your seventh house, you better take the lead in relationship. Because if you don't take the lead in relationship, somebody else is going to take the lead. And you're going to be over here in the first house with the South Node there, and you're not basically riding the dragon's head, right? This is the dragon's head. This is the dragon's tail. You do have to sort out, though. Do you have a partnership or do you have a dictatorship? That's an important aspect of the True Node in Aries in the seventh house. It's commitment. It's commitment, right? It's like, okay, I'm in. We're committed. Good. All right. Here we go. Whoops. Come back. Hold on. How the hell did that happen? Hold on. That's weird. Here we go. Just aspect ratio. Okay, let's go to the eighth house. True Node in the eighth house. We're going to get to Lahaina here when we're done with the True Node. I've been wanting to do this for a couple of weeks because The True Node has been in Aries for a couple of weeks. I wanted to go through that timeline stuff. I wanted to go through this. The True Node in the 8th house, power of intention, spiritual test, stealing of the will, jack into magic with a K, fight for your legacy. 8th house is legacy. Fight for your legacy. Don't let people fuck you over. Whatever your legacy is. Jack into magic. 8th house is magic. Spiritual test. You'll get tested with power. Grant, I guarantee you, you get that True Node translate through your 8th house, you're going to get tested with power. It's the power of intention. The power of intention. The power to make things happen. It's all based here. It all comes out of the cauldron of the 8th house. Some hot sex with that True Node in the 8th house, too. All right, let's do another one. Oh, hi, Peachy. You hungry? Peachy's here. Let's go to the 9th house. I like this one. Here we go. If you got the True Node in the 9th house, it means you got Aries hanging out up there. 9th house. To boldly go where no one has gone before. You know what's interesting about that? You know who said that? William Shatner, right? Star Trek. What sign was he? He's an Aries. Truth at all costs. Righteousness. You got to watch out for the True Node there. Fire and brimstone. You'll get some of that with that True Node in the 9th house. No risk, no reward. You got to take a risk. I like the True Node in Aries in the 9th house. Taking an exotic vacation with gun runners would be fun. There you go. Wouldn't that be an interesting kind of gig, like exotic vacations? Hey, how would you like to take a vacation? The drug smugglers, gun runners. How would you like to take a vacation with revolutionaries in Africa? Right. Extreme Vacations, Inc. There you go. All right. Let's see what else we have. The 10th house. Work, the world at large, right? The big wide world. Make your mark. Fighting for position. Hard work. Work for yourself. If you don't like, hey, if you don't like what somebody else is doing, if you don't like your corporate gig, take responsibility for it. War is the business. And stand your ground. Those are all key phrases for the 10th house with the True Node there. Make your mark. Fighting for position. Hard work. Hashtag for your, dash for yourself. Go all the way. That's the other part of Aries. Aries just goes all the way to the fucking end, right? It is relentless. So once you start something, whatever house it's in, you can apply that for any house. In the 10th house, you got to go all the way. That's key. That's critical. Okay. Here we go. Let's do the 11th house. A little tricky because the 11th house, you want to be friends, right? Friends, groups, organizations. The age of Aquarius. True Node, 11th house. Stand-up guy. Follow the leader. Friendly fire. In the ring. One is many. Many are the one. Because Aries is about the one, right? And the 11th house is about the many. One is many. Many are the one. So if you have the True Node translated in your 11th house, get involved. Find your group. But if you're going to find your group, you're going to be the stand-up guy or the stand-up gal. One of the two. Follow the leader. If you have the True Node in Aries in your 11th house, it's going to be you. Right? Watch out for friendly fire, too. Okay. Last one, and then we're going to get into Lahaina. I always save the headline stuff for the end, if you haven't noticed that. The stuff that's on the it's on the thumbnail. Here we go. Last one. 12th house, going for the one. Deep chrysalis, will resurrection, sleeper cell, break on through to the other side. If you have a True Node going through your 12th house, take a break, recharge. Your time to act is coming, but it's not now. You want to go deep, right? Going for the one, the deep chrysalis, the resurrection of the will, the sleeper cell. By the time you're done with this transit, it'll be in the 11th house And guess what? You're going to have way more social opportunities. It's okay to not be social. It's okay to take a time out, right? Yeah. And the South Node in the sixth house, you're gonna want to take as much time off as you possibly can. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, there you go. That's the True Node in Aries around the horn. All right. Why don't we get into the Lahaina piece? Before I do that, I guess I can do it simultaneously. Let's do this. So I clearly do not want to trivialize what's happened there. This was the chart, 6:37 a.m. That's when it was reported. This is the time that we've got. And we can see the sun. It hasn't even broken the horizon yet. So it's not even sun up. And there were a bunch of people who claimed to see these green flashes in the sky prior to all this, right? So it's not going to compete with any sunlight. So dark skies. That's number one. We're setting the stage here, dark skies. And I was playing around with some of the fixed star stuff, and I brought Eris into the conversation too. So the thing that really grabbed my attention was Antares down here at 10 degrees, right? You can see it here, but I wanted to put it in so you could actually see it. Antares is war. It's Mars, but it's Mars on fucking steroids, right? It's Mars on steroids. That's, on the other side, you have Aldebaran. The two of these work together. Like Aldebaran makes the plans. Aldebaran's like the general, and Antares is the warrior. It's in the fourth house. So what do we have here? We have fire and water based on this time using the Placidus chart. And then you have Scorpio, which is, again, theoretically transformational, right? Theoretically transformational. But it's dark water. Dark water. And it's black magic. Sometimes Scorpio is black magic. And, take it from a Scorpio rising guy that inadvertently or maybe inadvertently practiced some of that at a certain point in time in my life. I didn't do it like with voodoo dolls or anything, but I understood the power of Scorpio, and I understood the power of intention with Scorpio. So this is when Pluto was transiting my first house back in the 90s, and I could dial up just about anything I wanted during that time, except, of course, financial liberation. Everything else but that. But that's what we have here, right? The fourth house. This is what's going on in Lahaina. Scorpio, water and fire. And when you're dealing with fire here, you're literally dealing with fire from the sky. This is the sky coming down. You know what's really interesting? Maui is a sky god. Maui is a sky god. And Maui's role is to keep the sky separate from the water. I was reading about this. This is the god Maui's role. I guess Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played Maui in that Disney film. And Maui has a fish hook, which is like trident serpent or trident staff, right? Or Neptune's trident. Fascinating. So here, what do we have? We have the sun, right? And this is the horizon right here. And we have literally the collapse. We have the collapse of the sky, right? We have fire theoretically from the sky. We have the collapse of the sky. And we can see some of that here, right? This is where it's supposed to be protected, but it's not. Something happens. And I'm not saying that Maui was asleep at the wheel, right? The sky god, because Maui's a sky god. That's his role. That's what Maui's supposed to do. And Lahaina is the place of the cruel sun. That's what it translates into. So you have Maui, the sky god, in the place of the cruel sun. And here, what's going on? We have the sun squaring Jupiter, so it's bigger, right? That's what the Jupiter squares do. It amplifies everything. Now, this could be, pretty much any place in the Hawaiian chain because they're not that far apart, right? I mean, this is how this thing works. But then you bring in the nomenclature and you bring in sort of the cosmic etymology of Maui, the sky god, who's there to keep it separate, and Lahaina, the cruel sun. Now all of a sudden it looks a lot different, right? And Jupiter is squaring the sun, which is making it bigger. Literally, this is raining down from the heavens in the pre-dawn sky. There's something also very technological with this Uranus sun square. So am I looking for confirmation bias? Really? Is that what I'm looking for? Okay. We know the story here. We know the story that there's Belt and Road, right? China has got to do this Belt and Road thing. They've got to set up a port somewhere in the Pacific, right? They've got to set it up somewhere. Why? Because they need to take their ships from Hawaii, from China, and they've got to stop somewhere in the center before they get to Panama. Because you can't load up a cargo ship with all the fucking cargo and with fuel and expect it to get from China to Panama. It's not going to happen. China is buying more of the Panama Canal too, which I've been reading about. So they need a halfway point. Here you go. Lahaina apparently has all the makings of a deep water port. Now, I'm going to go off the reservation here, and I've been scolded for saying that, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I believe that in 2008, when America went bankrupt, China came in and bailed the country out. The unspoken part of that deal was that China got property and land. And this is just my hunch and my opinion based on things that I've seen, and that China got possession of Hawaii. China got possession of California. And I believe China got possession of Oregon and Washington as well. Why? Because Oregon, Washington, California, and then you had that turncoat governor in Nevada, who I think is he dead now? Didn't that? I don't know. I have to go back and look. But they were all in lockstep with China when it came to the COVID protocols. Hawaii was terrible. Hawaii was absolutely brutal. Like Hawaii could have been China. Am I right? You people who live in Hawaii, you know what I'm talking about. Where was the first case of COVID? It was in Washington State. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And if you look at California, what are they doing to California? They're hollowing out California. Where have we seen massive fires in California? Massive fires. We're also seeing massive fires. Oregon. Massive fires in Oregon. We're also seeing massive fires. Canada. Who really owns Canada? I don't think it's English. Nope. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, California, Washington, Oregon, and even Nevada, but to a lesser extent a little bit. All of those states were operating with very similar COVID protocols as China. Who's calling the shots? Why is California being emptied out? Why is San Francisco becoming a ghost city? Can we connect some dots here? This is what I'm thinking. Now, I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to put China's chart right into this mix here. You're going to see what I'm talking about. I think that this is what, to me, this is what we're looking at. This is what they do. They get people to fucking move. This is a higher form. Well, I don't want to say higher. I would say it's a more global form of disaster capitalism. the Chinese. Now, here's the other deal, right? This is the other part of this deal. We got Saturn in Pisces. What happened during World War II? The United States got into a war with who? Germany and Japan. And really what was going on is that they were who was running the oceans? Prior to that was the English. The English ruled the seas for a long time. And then World War II comes along, and who winds up running the shipping lanes after World War II? The United States. The United States had to defeat Japan, right, to run the Pacific. And theoretically, they had to defeat Germany and place England in position that was inferior. England took so many hits during World War One and World War II. They were not the same power that they were, at least on the seas. Maybe they were controlling things behind the scenes with the crown, but not on the open seas, right? That was not happening. So now what's going on? But now the Chinese are asserting their dominance, and they want to control the shipping lanes. That's what Belt and Road is about. And so when I see a chart like this, okay, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is kind of interesting. And then you have Aries, right? Aries. We just saw Aries. We saw how Aries was discovered when the true node was in Aries, right? And it's right in that pocket, squaring Pluto. Again, could this be Kona, or could this be the Big Island, Kauai? Sure, they're not that far apart, right? But we're talking specifically about Maui and the rest of the island chain. They're not indistinct. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to bring up China's chart, because to me this is where we're going to, I think, find some astrological fingerprints. I used to have it up here, and I'm going to have to reconstruct it. Give me 1 second, and I will do it. Here, let's do this. All right, so for China, we use October 1st, 1941, 3:15 p.m. I guess this is when they all signed their fealty now. Beijing. Beijing. Oh. BEI. BEI. There we go. All right, so we're gonna do a little synastry here. Give me 1 sec. Let me go into Lahaina. Right there we go. Let's do some synastry. And they'll do China. Here it is. Let's put in some other points of calculation here. And away we go. Here we go. So we're going to have Lahaina on the inside and China on the outside. All right. Okay. Just want to make sure everything right. Give me 1 sec. Hold on. 1941. Let's do a quick edit here for China. 1949. Quick edit. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. There it is. There it is. Okay, here we go. Oh, we just saw that. My bad. Hold on. Get into the share mode. There it is. Right there. All right. So again, I'm not searching for confirmation bias, but we're going to find it. Right. This is China's Mars and Pluto right here. Right. So the sun is at the midpoint on the day between Mars and Pluto. 12th house, hidden. Right. What is Mars in the 12th house? It's the hidden enemy. Yeah, I like right there. This is it. Right. This is what we're looking at. This is the two-barrel shotgun, right? This is the over-under shotgun. And this is fire, right? This is fire potential. Again, what's it doing? Squaring off against Jupiter and Uranus. Right there. Boom. 12th house, just before the dawn. And what do we have? Saturn, right? Conjunct Mercury, Mars, first house. And then the second house, which is foundational, Sun, Neptune, all the Libra stuff here. What is Sun, Neptune? Water. We got the ports. From here to here, if I were to just put a blanket kind of statement over this thing, right? You have fire in the 12th, intense fire in the 12th, just before dawn. And then you have the reshaping, right? You have the reshaping of the land in the second house. It's right there. And then over here we have the moon and Aquarius, Jupiter, right? Oh yeah, we'll help you out. We're friendly. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll help you out over there. And look, there's the true node, transiting true node. China's got the fucking true node in Aries. See that? Look at that right there. Boom. Boom. So there's the true node in the sky at the time, right? By the time it gets from here to here, I think China's intentions will be known. China's true node is at what? 16 Aries. How could China not go to war on their true node? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's. If I was Vegas, the odds of China going to war with its nodal return, I think, would be pretty good. But again, what kind of war are we talking about? Mars and Pluto says we're not talking about, a straightforward kind of war. It's, again, if we are presupposing that this is what's happening, that this is all about, if you see the pattern, right? Canada fires. Who runs Canada? California fires. Hawaii fires. Is there a common theme there? Is there a common player involved there? Yeah, I think so. This is what I think. I think we look at this. There's your fingerprints right there. And reshaping, right? Reshaping the land. Completely reshaping the land. Oh, yeah, we'll help you out. Oh, yeah. So they'll come in, right? Keep your eyes on who's going to come in and do the construction. We'll just track it. It'll be easy. Simple. Oh, yeah, we've got this Chinese corporation. They're going to come in and they're going to start to rebuild everything. It'll be interesting to see what the people of Hawaii actually do. It'll be even more interesting to see what the island itself does, because you can't fuck around with Hawaii like that. That was my experience. Like, you do shit like that to the island, I'd be very concerned. Like, Hawaii's got all these volcanoes, and I'm like, fuck you. Before you can turn this thing into a deep water port or whatever, you know, Pele will let you know that, Pele's got other things to say about this. That's my experience with Hawaii. And I think that's what we got going on here. Look, these are the fingerprints. What do I think is going to happen? I think whatever happens is beyond what the locals can do. It's beyond what the United States can do, like whatever government this thing is. Whatever's going to happen is going to have to do with the spirit, right? The animated spirit of the islands. Because that's my experience. Don't fuck with Hawaii. Just don't fuck with it. You'll find out. It's not like fucking with other parts of the world. You can fuck with other parts of the world. But Lemuria has a very different way of dealing with things. Good luck. Good luck. All right. So what do you guys think? Right? I think that when you look at this, you put China in the mix, you put that Mars-Pluto conjunction, it's like right on the sun. Mars is right on top of the sun. Pluto is right underneath the sun. Right? We got power here. We got sun here. We got Pluto, which is destruction and transformation right there. And then Saturn in the first house is the authority. Hello? And then reshaping the second. And I haven't even gotten into all the inconjunctions, the squares, and the oppositions. Right? And again, up here, boom. True Node, conjunct Chiron, Aries. I think it's a thing. Then you have Saturn over here, retrograde in Pisces. They're redoing the whole water system. Right? The whole idea is to turn Lahaina into a deep water port. And I think the 15-minute city and Oprah's land or whatever, that's all just the ribbon on the package. Let's just ribbon shit. And you ask yourself, well, why can't they do it in Honolulu? Well, Honolulu's already set up to do other things. Take in tourist trade, all the little cruise ships going to Honolulu. I don't think you can do a refueling port in Honolulu, right? I mean, there's probably some of it, but then you can start from scratch. But good luck. Good luck. Don't fuck with the island. That's all I'm saying. All right. There you go. Took us a while to get there. Took us about a little over 2 hours to get there. We got there, right? We got there. Okay. Let's see what kind of comments we have. Been talking a long time. Let's go to new comments. Naval 7th Fleet headquarters in Hawaii. That's if we are still theoretically a nation, which I don't necessarily think we are. Hey, Ani, what's going on? Good to see you. I spent 3 weeks in Lahaina during Halloween. It was excellent. Well, thank you. Oahu was given to the foreigners, yes. Hawaiian gods may save the U.S. if lucky. I believe in that. Yeah, I believe in that. It's like Pandora, right? That's James Cameron's movie come to light. All right. I'm out of here. I think I'm done. Anybody have anything interesting to say so I can put your comments up here? Amazing amount of content. I'm so disgusted with what they've done there. Absolutely. There is like going beyond the pale. There is a going, and remember, we have Saturn, which is out there in the singleton. I think people are going to see it. I think people are going to see what's happening. Like, they crossed the line, man. They crossed the line. There you go. All right. So check us out tomorrow over on Sirius Sports, me and Al Dog. We got the NFL. We got all kinds of stuff we're gonna be talking about. It's gonna be really cool. And I have guests that I want to bring onto the show too. Not tomorrow, but they're coming. We're working on our guest list. If you want some CBD, go to truehemscience.com. Support my good friend Chris. Get all your CBD needs met. There's somebody saying yesterday that all they do is THC. Chris has found a fantastically synergistic combination between CBD and CGA, and trust me, he has found the sweet spot with a lot of his blends, elixirs. Go check it out, truehemscience.com. And if you spend $100 or more, what you'll get, if you type in the word 15MINS upon checkout, you'll get free goodies. You get a free goodie bag. $100 or more, you get free goodies. 15MINS at truehemscience.com. Spend $150 or more, get free shipping. And there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you want to get a reading, go to my page, robertphoenix.com/services, readings. And be sure if you get a reading, watch the video to get in touch with me. Watch the video. People try to send me emails. Call me or use Telegram. And that way we can just set it right up. Okay? All right. Thank you, everybody. We went for 2 hours and 11 minutes. Thanks for being here. Appreciate y'all. David, I hope everything goes smoothly and that your little princess is with us, healthy, happy, and everybody is just grinning from ear to ear and can't wait to hear the good news. All right, take good care. Oh, before I go, I need to do this. I need to do this before we get out of here tonight. Give me one moment here. Oh, David was here? Oh, cool. So I just saw that. All right. Before we go, we have to say goodbye to our good friend, Irene, also known as FUP. And she started listening to the show back in 2010. And she passed on. And I had the pleasure of chatting with her on FaceTime and Zoom, and just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful lady. And a great mother. And Frank, her son, her passing was very peaceful. And I think everybody is, of course, they're grieving her physical loss, but they're grateful for her graceful transition. And I just want to, pay homage to this woman who spent 10 years, 13 years, not missing a show. She didn't miss a show. She was either here live with us or listened after the fact. And that means a lot. That means a lot. And Irene, you'll be missed. You will definitely be missed. But we know that you're back in the magic of the spirit of life. And I know that you're there and you're around your children and you're going to let them know that you're okay, because it happens that way. And thank you so much for spending the last 13 years not missing a show. All right. Okay, that's it. Use your head in order to understand what's real, your heart to accept what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. And if you want to come to our event in October, call up the Into the Hills. We still have a room. We still have space. It's in Kerrville, Texas. Take good care. Bye for now.